Ladies and gentlemen, there's been a lot of talk. We just saw Donald Trump on Lex Friedman's podcast, and Lex basically says, I think it's a little bit ridiculous. You're saying Kamala Harris is a communist. No independent really believes that. Well, guys, there are some important things you need to understand when it comes to shifting the dialogue within the United States and making things more communist. And obviously, some of her proposals, I mean, Lex's whole argument makes no sense. He's basically saying, well, her policies are so bad, none of them are going to be implemented. So then why would anyone vote for her? Like, that's the whole thing. I've seen several liberals say now, well, she's got these crazy policies like, the price controls on food that'll never be implemented. Well, then why would we vote for her in the first place if her policies are so bad they're never going to be implemented? It makes no sense. There's no actual solving it. Let's just throw some socialist idea at it. And yes, they want a more socialist communist government. They'll say socialist. I think socialism is just a neutered down version of communism. We remember the whole, gay marriage thing in the early 2000s. You had Democrats gaslighting everyone, saying, gay people should be able to get married. That's fine. That's not an extreme thing. But you have to understand that's how these things start, and the goalpost moves and moves and moves. And now here we are in 2024. And I think the best example of how crazy it's gotten, you had California recently pass a law which allowed, and this is a specific law. They went out of their way to do this. This is a law that says if in a classroom, if a kid tells a teacher he wants to be called a she or something different or different pronouns, the teacher is not obligated legally to tell the parents, because I would assume that, oh, the parents are bigots and they're transphobes and they don't want their third grader changing genders. It's just ridiculous. But there's a law that specifically says the teacher is not obligated to tell the parent, again, because, oh, what if the parent doesn't like it? It's just unbelievable. That's how far we've gone. Could you imagine in 2003, 2004 saying, well, if we get gay marriage, this is what it's going to lead to? And I'm not saying it's a straight line, but this is how these things go. They move the goalposts, and it's the exact same thing with the unrealized capital gains tax, right? We're just all normal middle class people. Why would we care about people that make over $10 million? That's crazy, guys. That's not how you need to be thinking. They're not going to come out and say, we want an unrealized capital gains tax on anyone and everyone that makes over 100K, because then everyone would be like, we're never voting for you. You're going to lose. Trump's going to get 500 electoral votes. They can't do that. They physically cannot do that. They would lose. So they have to, when you implement these things, you have to start very small with almost a common sense thing to where it's like, oh, you don't have to worry about it. It's $10 million or over. This is the strategy. And now you've got Tim Walz, one of Tim Walz's top people, endorsing Brazil for shutting down X, and liberals saying they love censorship. And it's crazy because this is stuff that actually happened in the United States to a lesser degree, because they're not that dumb. They know if they actually did something like, there was actually no reason to do what Brazil did because they controlled X. But when they controlled it, it was all, you take a look at Facebook, what happened with Zuckerberg coming out and admitting the Hunter Biden story was totally censored because the FBI told them there was going to be disinformation regarding the Biden family corruption right before the election. They preemptively said that before the Hunter Biden story ever came out, because they knew the Hunter Biden story was going to come out and they knew it was going to be a bad look for Biden. It was the big October surprise. But I do want to get to this video because it is so important. This is really bad what she's saying here. She's basically threatening X and saying that there needs to be huge government regulation over X. Basically, they need to control it, and hinting at possibly throwing Elon Musk in prison for promoting free speech on the internet. Because remember, liberals have admitted that they do not believe in free speech. Remember when all the conservatives got banned for nothing? Remember when all the doctors got banned during the pandemic for sharing data? What was the response from liberals? It was, oh, it's a private company. They can do whatever they want. Free speech does not apply. So they don't believe in free speech on the internet at all, which is very scary considering how important the internet is at this point, and especially like these social media platforms. But they've made their statement and their points clear. They do not believe in free speech, and they will take action against X.
He has lost his privileges, and it should be taken down. And the bottom line is that you can't say that you have one rule for Facebook and you have a different rule for Twitter. The same rule has to apply, which is that there has to be a responsibility that is placed on these social media sites to understand their power. They are directly speaking to millions and millions of people without any level of oversight or regulation.
I mean,
And that has to stop.
and so
He
there
has,
it is. I mean, she's basically saying that best case scenario for Twitter or for X is that, oh, we'll allow you to keep operating, but we're going to censor basically everything that you say. This is very scary stuff. It really is. And I mean, you see Jake Tapper there. This was from a little while ago. Jake Tapper just looks totally awkward. But again, they endorse what's happening in Brazil. They want it to happen in the United States. They like that Brazil was able to ban X, and that's why you don't see any liberals coming. See, where are the liberals coming out? What's going, with what's happening in Brazil? None of them say anything because they all secretly endorse it. So this is very, very scary stuff, and people have to understand, and independent people like Lex Friedman, they have to realize that these things get started. It's a slow roll. It's not automatically going to be this radical communist ideology. We didn't get to what's going on right now with the whole gender transitioning of young people. You've got biological males competing with females, and people say that that's fine because you have to let them do it. You can't offend them. We didn't get there immediately. All right, there's many, many different steps and things that were taken before, and it all gets normalized. And it's just like the idea of introducing, I'm not saying full-blown communism in the United States. That could never happen because we've just got too many even liberal people that are hardcore capitalists that are multi billionaires. I mean, there were billionaires that spoke at the DNC. So but the overall point is, a lot of the younger liberals do want a capitalist society, and I think there's going to be a middle ground maybe with socialism, to where it's very important with that capital gains tax. They want you to stop investing. The number one way a normal average person can get ahead is through investing and becoming financially free through it. Honestly, with cryptocurrency, but also the stock market. If you make a good decision on a stock, it's going to take longer, but still, that they're trying to de-incentivize investing, and now they've got a normal flat rate capital gains tax they've introduced at 45%. If you live in California, it's 60%. With the crazy state income tax, a lot of these states, it's over 50%. If you've got it 45%, the state income tax is 5-6%. It's going to be over 50%. So this is really, really horrible. And Kamala Harris saying, that she might shut down X or heavily regulate it. I mean, there's just no free speech with these people on the internet. And again, they're not going to do it 2 months before the election because it's a horrible look, and independent people know that. But this is really scary. People need to understand that this is how these things start. I mean, you have to get the ball rolling somehow. They're not just going to say, oh my God, we're introducing communism. We're a communist country now. We're a socialist country now. I mean, yeah, there are elements of socialism, and there is always going to be if you live in a community, but you have to get the ball rolling. And so you start by saying, come on, we just want to tax the really rich people at 55, 60, 70%. Are you kidding me? You're not going to allow that. And then you've got the same thing with the price controls. I think the price controls are so horrible because you have to understand the context of the idea of it. Their economy, the Biden administration, has been so bad that they have to try and blame other things that don't make sense when you've got these producers, making 2%. They make nothing, and then they're like, oh, they're price gouging. It's because they have to blame someone other than themselves and other than their terrible economy with how bad inflation is. So they have to drive the prices up because of how bad inflation is, and they say, no, that's price gouging when their margins are 1.5 to 2%. The food manufacturer. So it doesn't make any sense. But again, they're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. And you've got Kamala Harris playing this weird game where she's the VP right now to the Biden administration, but she's saying that things cost too much, but she still thinks the Biden administration and Bidenomics are good. So which one is it? And we can't get an answer. She won't do an interview. And that's honestly the worst part of this entire thing. And yes, their strategy has been revealed. I mean, this is just, it's 2 months before the election. There is still no actual platform that she's running on at all. And that's another thing that Dana Bash never asked her. It's like, I mean, I think the first question would be, why did your anonymous aides basically endorse Trump's border wall? I would ask her that in those exact words, and I wonder what she. It'd probably be some word salad, but still, it'd be hilarious because it's embarrassing. It is, her anonymous aides endorsed the idea of Trump's border wall after everything we saw with liberals saying it was racist, saying this is America, we need to have an open wall. You comparing the a Trump wall to the Berlin Wall, and now she's saying, yeah, I'm gonna shut X down, and this is really, really bad stuff. We've also got this. This was a funny moment here with Karine Jean-Pierre.
A different topic. Since when does the vice president have what sounds like a southern accent?
Better thank a union member.
You better
for
thank
sick
a
leave.
union
You
member.
better
Wait,
thank
listen
a
to this,
union
listen to
member for paid
Listen to
leave.
this, hold on.
And you all helped us win in 2020, and we're gonna do it again in 2024.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well,
I mean, this is.
she was
Dude,
talking
the way
about
she
unions.
says, I have no idea. It's such a lie. It's like, again, it's like a sitcom. It's so fake. Like,
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well,
I mean, this is.
she was talking about unions.
dude,
in
look at how.
Detroit.
I think these two are dating. I really do. I think Peter's dating her. This is the couple that randomly, after the Biden administration is done and she's not the press secretary, in like a year, there's going to be an announcement that they're engaged, and everyone's going to be like, "Whoa, that's what the hell." But I mean, dude, like this is such a lie, and it just sounds like such a lie.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well,
I mean, this is.
she
I
was
have
talking about
no
unions
idea what
in
she said it so
Detroit.
sarcastically too. Like she said it so like she knew she was lying. And then of course you listen to this.
Using one tone of voice.
Is this something that you
Same
think?
line
Okay, Peter.
that
let's-
she used the same line in Pittsburgh.
Boy, she's
and it sounded
embarrassed.
like she at least had some kind of a southern
I mean,
drawl. What?
do you hear the question that you're? I mean, do you think Americans seriously think that this is an important question? They care. You know what they care about?
They care about her
their
answering
economy.
questions.
They
She
care
said
about
one
loan
interview.
costs. They care about healthcare.
I'm glad you brought that up. We just got the numbers. Since August 6th, the Vance and Trump team have had 34 interviews. She and Waltz have had 1 interview, 0 solo interviews. The people care about her answering questions and actually putting out a policy. That's what people care about. You're right. Why isn't she doing it? So we have to talk about her accent.
That's
won't
what
do anything. She
Americans
won't
care
talk.
about.
So
That's what they
okay,
want to
well,
hear.
this is something.
They care about.
That
Your
was
colleague
not a
just
voice-
asked me about what basically we talked about, went back and forth about democracy and freedom. That's what.
Oh
they
yeah,
care
when she
about.
got 0 votes. I remember. What if he was just like, you know what, democracy? I do remember when the current Democratic Party nomination for president, the current candidate, she got 0 votes in the primary. That's good democracy, right? What would she say to that?
I'm not even going to entertain some question about the president.
This is so fake.
Hearing it sounds so ridiculous.
Well, but hearing it is
The question I'm talking about, the questions is just insane.
that how she talks in meetings?
I'm just kind of
Is that how she talked? You better thank a union member. Wait, hold on.
no idea what you're talking about.
Well,
I mean, this is.
she was talking about unions in Detroit using.
I mean, it gets so obvious she does a different accent based on where she's at in the United States. It's so weird. And she has to cover for it. I have no idea what you're talking about. I couldn't do it. But yeah, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you follow me on X. Link to that's always in the description.